There's a whole culture to it that goes beyond just Latin culture. There's people from all over the world that enjoy this.
Absolutely.
And they dedicate a significant portion of their life to learning about it and performing, enjoying it. So when you say salsa, man, you're saying a lot. It can be a whole lifestyle for people. A very important part of their lives.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Is it when you're playing trumpet and you're taking a solo, one of these solos that may be inspiring young people like Willie, are you thinking of great instrumentalists in the past and some of the phrasing or some of the melodic statements that they made, or are you trying to elaborate on them? Or, I mean, what kind of enters your mind, when you're soloing?
That's a great question. All of those things enter your mind up until the second you put the horn to your mouth. And then at that moment, you just become consumed of that passion of that moment. And any kind of concerted effort that you make, forget about it. At the moment you start playing, you're in that moment, and it's hard to explain, but that is a great question.
But we're fortunate to be able to live that, though.
Yes.
That's the cool thing about it. We're actually fortunate to be able to live that precise moment.
The thing is that you are all those things that you've absorbed through the whole learning process of becoming the musician that you now are.
It enters your subconsciousness.
And that's the important thing, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That you've absorbed all of those things, and at the moment you're taking a solo, you're not thinking it, obviously,
Right.
but that comes out, you know what
Right.
I mean? The fact that as a piano player, I've listened to Peruching, and I listened to Lili, and I listened to Eddie Palmieri, and all those people collectively had a big influence on me, you know what I'm saying?
And of course, all the people that you've worked with Van, you worked with Barreto, you worked with, speaking of
Without a doubt.
working with many people, Artie Webb, you've played flute with Ray Barreto, you've currently playing with Johnny Polanco. For a while you were in my group, you worked with Jorge Dalto, you worked with some amazing musicians. And by the way, John, it was a great answer. I mean, that's exactly what I feel when I'm playing. A lot of it is your experience that you've had practicing by yourself, listening to other people, playing with other bands. What does salsa mean to you, Artie Webb? What is salsa?
Well, this has been, when John used the phrase soy salsero, it's a personification. It has been my lifestyle for more than 30 years. And the experiences that I've had with all of these gentlemen here, we have the history as far as traveling to Europe, to the Caribbean, the French Caribbean, recording sessions, and the sum total of all of our experiences inspires the next performance, and it's something we were taught in school. You're only as good as your next performance, but it's influenced, now we're influencing future generations, and it's a cultural phenomenon.
Ray de la Paz, you've been part of some amazing collaborations and some amazing recording sessions, and part of whole different movements in the salsa world. For a while there was a movement called salsa sensual or salsa romantico.
Right.
There's also now kind of like a return to what we call salsa dura, old school salsa. But just salsa, what does it mean to you? And maybe you can touch on salsa sensual and salsa dura.
Well, salsa, actually, I started as a rock and roller. You know,
All
that
right.
was my thing. My influence, in the beginning of my upcoming, I was very heavy into doo-wops and rock and roll, heavy metal. I got into salsa about 30 some odd years ago. And the influence that I had never heard salsa before, and I really didn't know what it was all about until I started going to, by coincidence, I accompanied a friend of mine one night to a club. And it was the first time I ever saw Eddie Palmieri, the Joe Cuba Sextet, and Ricardo Rey and Bobby Cruz together at the Colgate Gardens in the Bronx. And it was an impact, it impacted my whole life. When I saw those bands playing individually, each band got up there and just kicked butt. But it was amazing how these guys played, man. You know, and I just stood in awe. And I said, man, this is great. The next day I went in, I started buying all the music and all the albums and all these people, and and got into other music, other artists like Chaputin and Miguelito Cuní and Tito Puente and Vicentico Valdez and all these people. You know, and it's amazing, you know, that it influenced me to a point where, like Artie said, and Johnny and Willie, you know, that it's my life. I've been in this 30 some odd years, and you know, I'm very proud and thankful to the Lord that you gave me the little talent that I have, you know, that I really developed it. I evolved the talent from listening to other artists. I learned from them, from all these different singers, you know. And I'm really proud of the fact that I'm with the Spanish Harlem Orchestra. Salsa, you know, it's a big thing to me. It's my life, actually, you know. And what's great about it is that, you know, everywhere we go, I have younger individuals, you know, come up to me and tell me, hey, man, you know, how do you do this? How do you do that? How did you start in this business, you know? And I'm always giving some kind of advice, some kind of input from what I've learned from my experiences, you know? And, you know, like what we're doing now, the seminar right here, you know, the salsa seminar. To me, I mean, salsa is like Oscar said, is the Afro-Cuban rhythms, you know, that were over and commercialized into the word salsa, you know, as a commercial thing. But it's all mambo. It's all mambo. No matter how you put it, it's all mambo, you know. But it's a great music. You know, I'm very proud to have all these wonderful friends, musicians in their own right, great talent, you know. And I'm just hoping that salsa, like Willie said, salsa is not dying. On the contrary, salsa is coming back with a shot in the arm, and it's coming back hard, okay? It's coming back with a shot in the arm. And, you know, me and Luis Ramirez, when we had our combination, we did the Salsa Romantica. We were the first ones to come out with Salsa Romantica, with Noche Caliente. And we, you know, we started a whole craze of, you know, other people that came on, like Frankie Ruiz and Eddie Santiago, and they all jumped on the bandwagon. But we started that thing,
Right,
you know,
right.
the creators of the Salsa Romantica. And then later on, it just faded out, and then you had the influence of other musics that were coming up, you know.
I was very surprised that Luis Ramirez was interested in, that he created this, and I was wondering, because I know Luis as a hard New York mambo type of arranger and composer. I knew Luis when he was a young man first starting out, and he was always very Tito Puente influenced,
Oh, yes.
very influenced in hard, what we would call today salsa dura. How did you guys decide to combine that romantic side?
Well, you know, it was an opportunity, you know, that just came up. A producer from California on the label K-Tel Records.
Joni.
Yeah, Joni Figueras. She came up with the idea of taking ballads that were hits at the moment, and she wanted to put them into a salsa arrangement. So she came to Louis, and Louis said, if I could put them in clave, I could do an arrangement, it's no problem. So that's what he did. So they picked like 15 tunes, and they gave me a couple of tunes, Jose Alberto Canario a couple of tunes, and Tito Allen's brother, Pito, they gave him a couple of tunes. And Louis did the arrangements, and you know, the rest is history. I mean, we came out with Estar Enamorado, Todo Se Derrumbó. Those tunes were like massive hits up in all over Central America, South America. And we gigged for like 2 months in Venezuela alone. We stayed in Venezuela for like 2 months, gigging just with that. It was so hot at the time. But you know, things phased out a little bit, you know, and other people took over the production, but didn't do the kind of work that Louis did, you know, as far as producer was concerned, and it just faded out. But the first album from Noche Caliente, when that Salsa Romantica, was the one that opened the door for all these other artists that came along.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. Chino Nunez, I didn't mean to leave the percussion for last, you know, because I'm a percussionist too. But, you know, I as a percussionist, as a timbalero, and I assume you play probably all the percussion, conga and
I try, yeah.
and all that stuff. What does salsa mean to you? What did it mean to you when you were a youngster? What does it mean to you now that you're involved as a professional?
Interesting question. I'm gonna sum it up real quick for you. Salsa is basically every ethnic group that you can imagine. We've been all over the world. I mean, I like most of the guys have said already. We've been everywhere. And I mean, wherever you go, you see a salsero, which goes to what John was saying. A salsero, that's what salsa is. Un salsero. Hay un salsero en cada esquina, wherever you go. And the funniest thing that I can, it's funny in a way, and it's probably the most massive thing that I've ever learned in my life, which is that it doesn't matter if you speak, what language you speak. As soon as you hit that note, as soon as you feel clave in your heart, we're talking the same language. I mean, that goes to what Johnny was saying. And salsa is just universal. Salsa is universal. That's it. It's music that's in our souls. It's everywhere we go. And whether you want to call it, you want to base it upon Latin genre music or whatever you want to call it, even if you fusion it with the jazz and call it Latin jazz, Latin music, salsa, whatever you want to call it, that's still in the clave. Once you hear clave, it's over.
Okay, now you brought up something very interesting. Let's start with you because you brought it up. Clave, for the benefit of people that don't have a clue, the clave. What do you see as clave? I mean, we all know it's a two-measure figure, and
Right.
that it. But what is the clave to you? Let's maybe everyone could speak a little bit about that.
Clave to me is the pulse of of salsa. It's like he says, it's a two-measure figure. There's two types of claves, 2/3 and 3/2, and it's just your pulse. It sets up the pulse of the rhythm for you to just do dance if you're a dancer, play if you're a musician. But it's the basis of an arrangement, of course, and
It's a timekeeper.
of a song.
Yeah, it's a time.
And it just starts you off on your way and whatever you're gonna do as far as a musical arrangement is concerned. That's what clave is. That's what clave is.
Willie,
Clave is the heartbeat of a structure of a song, I think. In my opinion, when you take a song and you are arranging a song and you keep, for example, 3/2 clave, you can be able to write freely the orchestration, how the horns come in, how the horns complement the singer, how the percussion complements the piano solo or whatever may be happening. So basically, one of the most important things for a singer standpoint, is clave. You have to make sure that you stay in clave in order to go through with a complete song. That's my opinion on clave.
show me just Eddie clave, 3/2, 2/3. Let's clap the clave. Show me how you would construct a phrase on top of the clave, keeping in the clave.
Right. Well, for example, Pueblo Latino. Pueblo Latino de cualquier ciudad. Ha llegado la hora, papá, de la unidad, papá, la rira, la tita, rira, papá, papá, parada. You can, if I would start it the other way around, so then it would actually cross, and
Right.
it wouldn't be fluent. And you wouldn't be able, unless you do a break and add another bar, you wouldn't be able to actually finish the chart on clave and smoothly.
Right. Clave is, let me try to put it in my words, and then we'll go around and talk about what clave means to all the others. I see clave as a structure of the rhythm structure, and I see that if we were talking about the human body, the clave would be the skeleton, which you can add muscle, you can add nerve endings into. So if you have that basic structure, then you know that if you add the tumbao, which is like the bottom part, the bass part could either be the bass or the conga part or both, it has a certain kind of duet with the clave that defines the rhythm. So, but clave means different things. We have, a bunch of different instrumentalists and vocalists and percussionists and pianists and tres players, flute players at the table. Let's, John, what does clave mean to you as a tres player and as a band leader?
Well, clave to me is the most detrimental part of music for us. You know, one of the as a tres player, Arsenio Rodriguez for me was the most incredible tres player there was, because he had a massive percussive feel to his rhythms. And the same thing with Cachao on the bass, you know, percussion is important. And the clave, it's just the main structure, because for example, I get a guy calls me, hey John, I got this great song for you. You can use it on your next CD. And then he starts singing it on the telephone. You know, 10 seconds, you know, I know that, you know, the guy wrote a poem, you know, and to set that to music, you know, these composers, like, they have to really, you gotta take out a word here, put a word here, take it out to make it work. And the most beautiful thing about the clave is that you have musicians that really play and know their instrument. But for them to explain the clave, they just like, that's what I feel. They know that it's 2-3 and 3-2, but that's what they feel. But without clave, we'd be out of business.
Sin clave, bongo, no hay son. Okay.
Déjame decirte, perdón, Bobby, but you know what it is, that the clave is so important in a band, in playing, because not only does it keeps time on what's going on with the whole band, but at the same time, you gotta remember that if the clave, if the percussion is playing and the guy, whoever's, and they cross that clave, like Willie said, there goes the whole thing. Somebody's gonna make it, that's gonna sound like, you know, everything's gonna go haywire. If that clave is not kept there, if that clave is not happening, that everything's gonna go haywire.
I think we should explain when we're talking about crossing the clave or staying within the clave. Something is in clave if the rhythm figures fit with the structure of the clave. If they clash with the clave, for instance, Tito Puente always used to demonstrate by singing Blend, Blend, Blend by Chino Nunez. And he always used to say, you could hear it in the melodic structure, the whole structure of the song with blend, 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 blend. Even, it doesn't have to be exactly on top of it, but still the structure is based on it. And if you start that melody a bar later against the clave, it doesn't work.
It's over.
It doesn't work. It has a tension that doesn't resolve, and it sounds not just complicated, it sounds discoordinated, it sounds jumbled up. And sometimes, and I don't mean this in a nationalistic sense, but a gringo writer, in other words, not somebody that's used to writing Latin music, because some of the best Latin arrangers have been Icelandic, Jewish, or Japanese, all sorts of things. But somebody that's not used to writing Latin arrangements will write a chart that's out of clave, and you'll hear it, and that rhythm will sound all awkward and strange and disjointed and stuff. Like if you sang blend, 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 and clap the clave reverse, it would just sound like it was fighting each other. If you said blend, 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 it's fighting it.
And what happens to the dancers? What happens to the dancers?
You can't even do it.
What happens to
What
the
happens to the
dancers?
dancers?
Even
The
with us
dancers-
with clave, we can't even do it. You know?
Oscar, you're a pianist and an arranger. What is
Ran out
that?
of tape, guys.